Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Make Every Second Count Live with me, your host and international award-winning Make Every Second Count speaker. Now I'm very excited about tonight, and I am very excited about every night, especially when I get to be on here with you guys. But my guest tonight is no slouch herself. Now, I need to ask you if you would please share this video out, invite people to watch it. If you want, just tag them in the comments. That's fine and dandy, but I would appreciate that. And if you would please give us some kind of comments, just keep them coming, and hit that like button, hit that heart button, hit that frowny face button, hit something. Just let us know that you're watching and help us trick the algorithm on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. So, with no further ado, I would like to bring up Lee. Hey,
Hey, Jeff, how are you?
I am fantastic. How are you doing?
I am doing wonderful, thank you. Such an honor to be here with you and your audience.
Thank you. I appreciate it very much. Now, I'm going to be inviting some people on my phone and sharing this to a bunch of different groups on Facebook. But if you would like to tell everybody who you are, where you're from, what you do, and more importantly, why you do what you do, I would appreciate it. And then we'll jump into um, how life isn't about what happens to you, it's about how you react to it that really matters.
Absolutely, Jeff. Thank you for this opportunity. Hello, everybody. I am Lee Smith. I am the performance coach with Upcycle Coaching, and I'm coming to you from Reno, Nevada. And today it's snowing. I know, snowing in May, but yes, it is snowing, and I
That's
welcome it
awesome.
because we need the precipitation. And business professionals and sales team leaders, entrepreneurs, anybody with a team, they hire me to help guide them through their mindset and their productivity, increasing their performance so that they can make more money, so that they can get greater vitality. And because time managed to me is energy management. How well do you manage your energy so that you can get done what you want to get done? And lastly, to deepen their relationships, because relationship is the true currency. It really isn't the dollars in the bank. It's about the relationships that we create with ourselves, with our family, with our team, and with the world. And why do I do what I do? Because I believe that life is too short to do mediocrity, to do the status quo, to do the day-to-day. Life is meant to be just living it as fully as you can. And also because I believe that you have 3 Gs. I believe that you have genius, that you have gifts, and you have greatness within you. And when you can tap into that spark of who you really are, you realize, acknowledge, and recognize what you have to contribute to the world. And then you get to truly see you are amazing. You get to truly see that you matter, and you get to truly see that the world needs you. And that's why I do what I do.
Wow, wow, wow. I thank you so much. That honestly just, I can't believe you said that much in your intro, and I find that to be awesome. Don't
Thank
get me wrong, I'm not trying to play it down or anything, but that was amazing. So
you.
I have to ask, Lee, I know I had a friend comment to me that your name was spelled differently.
Yes.
Where exactly does that come from, and how why is it spelled the way it is?
Sure. Thank you for asking that question. I am actually a war baby. My dad fought in the Vietnam War. He served in the U.S. Army, and my mom was a citizen in Vietnam. And so they met at the military base there, where she was serving. And I won't say that it was love at first sight. There was some persistence on my dad's part, but he did end up marrying my mom over there in Vietnam and then brought her back here to the States when his tour of duty was up. And I'm the first of three children. And so Lee, it's Ly. There's actually an accent over the Y, but that's hard to do with the keyboard to do that appropriately. So it comes from my Vietnamese heritage, and that's why it's spelled differently.
Well, that's very cool, and I'm glad I asked about it because I've been curious. I've seen you around, and I've always been kind of curious, and
Sure.
I'm glad I asked that. So I know I was reading part of the stuff you sent me before, and there was something about how your choice that you had to make at 7 years old shaped your entire life and your whole outlook on life. So can you explain that to everybody? And well, first you have to fill them in on what happened in the story, and then fill them in on how that has shaped you.
Definitely, definitely. Well, one of the great adventures of life is creating change, and the change that we desire, right? And that change comes about from self awareness. And for many of us on the planet, we don't get self awareness until later in life. And I was gifted with that at the bright young age of 7 years old, which is pretty amazing. And this happened at 7 because my parents came into my room. It was a Saturday morning. I was slowly waking up because I didn't have to be up for school. I was actually waking up for Saturday morning cartoons, if anybody remembers
Woo!
those good days. And as I was waking up, my parents came in and they said, Lee, we need to have a talk with you. And this is my dad talking, and he said, your mom and I are going to get a divorce. And we want to know who you want to live with.
Did you know what divorce meant at that age?
I certainly did not. I can tell you, my first thought was, what is divorce and how do you spell that? Because I was in second grade and I was studying for the spelling bee. So that was my first thought. What is that, and how do you spell that? Now, giving my parents a little bit of credit here, they were so young. They were so young when they got married. They were so young when they had me. So even in this process, they didn't know any better, because really, if you knew better, what parent would do that to a 7-year-old, right? Or really at any age, put that on them to say, well, who do you want to live with? Divorce was not very common back in that day. And for me, what happened in the process was I of course did not have to give them an answer right then and there, but I remember thinking through it, like I'll be in the backyard playing on the play set and thinking, well, what would happen if I lived with mom and if I lived with dad? And here's what I observed at 7 years old. Again, take this from a 7-year-old mind, that if I go live with my dad, who I didn't see him doing much around the house. He worked away from the home, and then he would come home and kind of sit in the recliner and do his thing, right? So I thought, oh gosh, if I go live with dad, I'm going to have to learn how to cook for myself and do the dishes and do the laundry and figure these things out. But dad is really smart. So dad can help me with my homework. And then when I thought about my mom, I thought, well, with mom, I see her doing everything, right? She'll make sure there's clothes on my back and food in my tummy and on the table, and she'll take care of the chores and things like that. But mom's English isn't too hot. And so I didn't necessarily see my mom as very smart. I mean, as an adult, I can recognize my mom as very intelligent. But back then, I was like, I don't know if mom can help me with my homework. So my struggle became, what's more important to me? being able to succeed in school and do well with my homework, or have my basic needs covered. And yes, I was aware of this at 7 years old. Highly unusual, but I'm a highly unusual person. And looking at that struggle, and in the end, it was looking at, well, what is the best in each offer, right? And this became a foundation for myself that anytime a conflict, a challenge, an obstacle, I would look at it, try to get as much of a 360 view on it as I could. What are the pros? What are the cons? What are my options? What are my choices? And what's the best in this situation? And then from there, choose what I believe to be the best, go with it, and see what happens and learn from it from there.
Yeah, that's a lot like my approach to these kind of things, because I was in a car accident. I spent 2.5 months in a coma and 3.5 in the hospital, and I wasn't really supposed to be walking right now, but here I am. It's kind of amazing, I have to say. I celebrate myself every day for it.
Yes.
But my thing is, I took that big goal, which was walking, and when you're in a wheelchair, that's not really something you can just readily attain. And I had to look at it in the bigger sense of it. So I had to look at what I had to do to start walking with the walker.
Yeah.
Now I needed leg muscles, I needed balance, I needed core muscles, I needed arm muscles so I could make sure I could hold myself up if I needed to.
Right.
And then I started getting those down, and then my walking with the walker became better. And then I had to figure out more steps for the cane. And then I figured those out, and my walking with the cane started getting better. And then eventually with nothing. But I had to break that stuff down and figure out that there are ways to do things if you just break them down. So
Yes.
I think breaking your big goals down, breaking whatever you want to achieve down into bite-sized little goals, that it'll help. And they say that, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
That's right.
So your big goals, I like to say that's an elephant, and you have to break them down to one bite at a time.
So true. So true. That's awesome.
Sorry, I know I interrupted your story.
No, not at all. Not at all. Like I said, looking at the best, and when we have a challenge ahead of us, or when we're looking at our goals, what is it that we desire? Just like you said, Jeff, breaking it down and looking at pros and cons and options, because in any given moment, in any situation, good, bad, or different, we always have a choice. And we get to choose, do I want to take this path or that path? Or even doing nothing is a choice.
Yeah.
And so when we think we're not deciding, that's actually a decision in and of itself.
Yeah.
And so when we can have that self-awareness and then see the bigger picture, not get so myopic, right? But really looking at the bigger picture, and then getting honest enough with ourselves to say, well, what is it that I really want? And which of these choices, and there may be more than two, there may be several, but looking at each one of them in the best way that we can, and then saying, well, which path is going, or which choice is going to get me closer to the result, closer to the goal that I desire. So it starts with that self-awareness, understanding what's going on, looking at our choices, and then choosing the best path. And you kind of repeat the cycle over and over again. And even as we accomplish goals, then we're stepping towards the new goal, or even getting into that next level. There's a fun saying, right? New level, new devil. So there's always another challenge. And that challenge is good because it's for our growth. It's for our benefit. And so we can keep that growth mindset of, how is this going to help me grow? What is this going to teach me about myself or how I cope with life and creating those skills, and definitely being able to break it down and chunk it down, because sometimes it seems so overwhelming. I mean, really, what would Jeff's life look like right now if he just sat there and thought, well, sure, I came out of the coma, but heck, if I'll ever walk again.
Yeah.
He was told he
Well,
won't walk again, and he stayed stuck in that thought and other people's beliefs of his situation. No, he took
and
matters into his own hands. And then
yeah,
he started to see progression after progression. And it wasn't just like, well, I'm just going to think it and I'll start walking tomorrow.
yeah, I
No.
wish.
Right? And I can relate to this too, because I myself was in a car accident, and
Yeah.
I thankfully did not land in a coma, but I was in the hospital for 11 days, and the doctors told me I wouldn't walk for 6 months, and in 2 months I was off of my crutches. So I understand that desire to walk again. It's like, oh, I was definitely taking that for granted. And yes, it took time, and I even had a setback, but that setback set me up for a comeback to make me stronger than where I was at the point of challenge. And so when you look at a challenge, there's a way to embrace it and recognize it's going to help you grow. And even if it's just a minutia step, that's movement, that's growth, and that's what's going to push you and give you the breakthroughs through your challenges and your obstacles again and again and again. So this is why we say life doesn't happen to us, it happens for us and gives us these greater opportunities to step into our best selves.
I like that. Life doesn't happen to us, it happens for us. But so how at that young of an age did you get such an analytical mind?
Oh, that's a great question, Jeff. I honestly don't know the answer to that. I would just say that it, it was how the universe shaped me, and I can stand by that because I have a daughter of my own, and she's 19 now, but I was a stay-at-home mom with her through all of her years. She did go to a brick and mortar school at the age of 10 until she was 17, and now she's a freshman at a university. And ever since a young age, she just had this sense of life. And I know so much of it wasn't something I gave to her; it was already in her. I just created the environment for her so that she could prosper and grow. And with my parents, they didn't know any better. So I really believe that somehow it was just poured into me. This is how I came into the world. And being able to look at it in a way that it was nurtured. Just a real quick funny story is that my dad's younger brother, who was my favorite uncle, when I was 13, because I was such a do-gooder and I followed all the rules and everything, I think my dad was having a conversation with him saying, oh, she's such an amazing daughter, like she's so good, she like listens and does everything I ask her to do, and she doesn't cause any trouble. And I overheard my uncle say, well, if she keeps staying on that path, she's going to be the most boring person on the planet. And that planted a seed in me that, oh, there's something to that. That, yeah, it really is the troublemakers who make history. Because if nothing goes wrong, if you don't make a bad decision, if you don't take a wrong path, if everything goes right,
It's gonna
what
be
is there to
fun.
tell? I mean, if you look back on your life right now, what are the stories you remember where something went wrong? What are the things that we laugh at where something went wrong?
When
This
we
is
did
really
something
the spice of
stupid.
life. So, I had that influence. So yes, I was blessed with the self-awareness at a young age, but at whatever age you come into that awareness, really the bottom line is to recognize this limitless potential that you have to empower your possibilities. What life has for you, what you get to create out of your own life. You get to choose the experience that you want. You don't get to control everything that happens, no, but you get to choose how you will respond to everything that happens. And that's where you can choose to be mopey and sit on the couch and watch Netflix all day, or you can just own that power and say, you know what, I'm going to make the most of this situation. It's going to be a climb, like in Jeff's case, for me to walk again. I'm going to have to start in the wheelchair. I'm going to have to build my strength here and there in my body to support myself. and the next step, and the next step, and the next step. And you know what? I'm just going to keep doing it anyway. Why is it so important to him to walk? He could have just sat in the wheelchair.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been a lot of fun though.
Right?
Hmm.
And so looking at any given situation, we always have a choice. I said we have a superpower. Every single one of us, every 7 billion of us have a superpower, and it's that
Do, do,
superpower
do,
of choice.
do.
Exactly. And we get to choose. We get to choose. Do I want to sit and mope? Do I want to do something about it? Do I want to do nothing? Do I want to sleep it off? Do I want to knock it out? Do I want to escape this through some type of entertainment or addiction? We have all of these choices. And trust me, I know you're just getting to know me, but trust me when I say when you choose the best choice for you, you get into this alignment of who you really are, you get to feel that full aliveness. And there's nothing better than that. I used to say to my friends in high school, when the ones who were getting high on substances, I'm like, I don't need any of that because I am just too busy getting high on life. And
Yeah,
it's been many years for me since high school, but let me tell you, I'm still getting high on life. It's possible. And when you can dream it, and when you can open yourself up to those possibilities, because a dream is not going to be poured into you if the capabilities aren't there to fulfill it.
yeah,
So if you get the dream, you've got resources in you. You may not have all the answers in you. You may have to reach out. Hey, Jeff is a friend of mine. Hey, Jeff, can I have a conversation with you about this? And I'll ask him some questions. He'll give me some feedback or some ideas and be like, oh, so then Jeff becomes a resource. So it's not all within us, but the possibilities are there. And so when we open ourselves up and tap into that, again, no matter what challenges, and I wish we had more time because I have lots of challenges and stories I could tell you, but the bottom line is when you want to live, when you have that hunger for life, especially to step into the best version of yourself and just fully feel it, you'll find a way and you'll learn to recognize that, oh, these challenges are here to grow me. They're
yeah,
here to make me better. It's the sharpening of the saw, it's the wielding in the fire, right? Even a diamond, it has to be crushed. That coal has to be crushed under so much pressure. A pearl, all the irritants in the oyster have to be so irritating. And again, it's put together and tightened and compressed so much, going through so much before that pearl gets to come out so beautiful, before that diamond gets to come out and shine.
yeah,
And that's what you have inside of you. You may feel like life is crushing you and it's just irritating you all over the place. But you know what? You're like, oh, on the other side, I'm going to get to shine. And it's your time to shine, my friend.
yeah. That's so true. And what I tell people a lot is that they have resources like all over the place. I mean, people can come to me and use me to put me in contact with, or put them in contact with somebody else or you. Or I have a ton of people in my network that I bounce ideas off of. They bounce ideas off of me, and I am happy to put people in contact with people that they need in their life, because there are so many people that we are just going to need for a little while or for a long time, even some for life. But you can't be afraid to ask for help.
No.
And a lot of people are afraid to ask for help. So let's say somebody has, like, with the whole pandemic thing, let's say that somebody has lost a bunch of family members to COVID and they're in a deep dark place right now. How can they find that potential inside themselves and let it out and shine bright?
That is a really great question, Jeff. And first, I would acknowledge right where I am. Like, it's been a dark year. I've lost a lot of people that I've cared about. It's been heavy. I'm grieving. Acknowledge right where you are without judgment. There's no shame, there's no guilt, there's no, oh, this is bad, this is horrible. It's just, this is what I'm feeling, and I'm going to allow myself to feel it almost till I can't feel it anymore. Because when we do that, the feeling is the soul and the body just really wanting to express what it's experiencing. And when we stop that, we cut it off. I feel for so many men in our society, because when they're little boys, and if they had something where they wanted to cry, and like, men don't cry, little boys don't cry, shut those tears right now. And when we shut that off, we actually tuck it into a place, not consciously, but we tuck it into a place in our body. And this is what causes pain. This is what causes suffering. This is what causes dis-ease, disease. So science has shown that like 85% of our diseases have come from our mental thinking. So the experiences that happen in our life. So if you are in this dark place where you've lost so much, it's okay to own that and say, you know what, I need to take a pause from the day-to-day life because this is heavy. This is burdensome. And I need to work through this, and just allow yourself to feel. And when it comes to grieving, we may have heard, oh, there's 5 stages to grief. There's no timeline to grief.
Yeah.
And the grief journey is your journey. No one else gets to tell you, oh, well, it's been so much time. I think you should be over that by now. No. You are on the journey where you're at. And then I invite you to, after you feel all the feels, you're like, okay, you're just taking a breath and getting open and honest with yourself. And just ask simply, because that next bite is, where do I want to go from here? Yeah. Do I want to experience happiness again? Do I want to have joy in my life again? And if the answer is yes, go, okay, well, what's going to do that for you? There's a place, yes, of choosing happiness and choosing joy, but there are external things too. What can you do? What lit you up as a child? You're like, oh, this is what made me laugh as a child. This is what brought me joy. Go seek that out. I don't care how old you are. Go see, if it means going to an actual candy store and you're like, okay, I'm going to be a kid in a candy store. I may be 50 something years old, but I'm going to grab me a lollipop. Grab yourself a lollipop if that is.
That sounds good.
Right? What that next step is going to be to make you happy. There was a time when I was in college and I was going through something, and I was just like, you know what? I just want to go to a park and sit on a swing and swing as high as I can. I didn't care that I was 20 something years old, right? I just had to go do something for yourself because you're doing it for yourself. It's your life. Live your life on your terms. And when you do those things, and it seems like little thing after little thing after little thing, believe me, those little things compound. And when you do find that joy, or you feel that freedom of expression, you're like, oh, I'm living my life. Then it opens up the creativity in your mind, and it lets the flow come through, and it gets you dreaming again. And you're like, oh, well, maybe I could do this with my life, or this is what I really enjoy. So you know what? This is what I'm going to do to enjoy life. Yes, I still have to work, or I still have these responsibilities, but I'm still going to make this time that's just for me. And that's part of what brings you back into living again. Like Jeff shared in his journey, that he didn't just go from the wheelchair to walking.
Mm-hmm.
He had to think about, where did he need to build his strength so that he can even get out of the wheelchair? Where did he need to build his strength so that he could get to the walker and then use the walker? And then from the walker, he's like, okay, well, nope, I still can't go hands off and start walking again. He had to move to a cane and then work through the cane, and then taking the steps on his own. And that's very much what happens coming out of our own darkness. And I know this because I had my own darkness journey too, of massive, massive depression, and had to bring myself out of it. And again, didn't happen overnight. So it starts with allowing yourself to be where you are. There's no pressure. There's no timeline. There's no expectations. It's your life. You do it on your terms. So you have a starting point. Going, you know what? This is my starting point. This is where I'm going to move. All right, I'm in this wheelchair of my starting point. So, what's going to get me to the walker?
Yeah.
What's going to get me to the next little step? Okay, and now I'm on the walker and I'm moving along. Okay, boy, things aren't happening as fast as I want them to. That's okay, because your time is perfect. It's your life, not anybody else's. And then you're like, all right, well, now I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And you know what? I'm feeling pretty strong and confident. I'm building my competency. I'm feeling good about life. Oh, I'm not ready to take those steps fully on my own, but you know what? I can use a cane because it's still going to support me. So finding that right support, the community, the people in your inner circle who are going to cheer you on and carry you through, and they're going to catch you when you fall, because believe me, you're going to fall, and that's okay. But you're just going to get back up and you're going to keep on moving. And as so long as you keep on moving and you're seeking the best and seeking the best and seeking the best, there will come that day. I can only imagine seeing Jeff on that day of releasing the cane and taking those steps and woohoo, I'm doing it. And maybe he was feeling unbalanced. It wasn't perfect. Again, still perfect. He
It
might have felt like,
wasn't.
oh, this is what a toddler feels like when they're just stopping cruising and now they're on their 2 feet again. Well,
Yeah.
really, it's
But
clicking. It's
it's a longer distance for me to fall when I was like
That's
18
true.
than
And no
at
diaper padding,
at
right?
1.5. Yeah. No.
Dog got it,
Yeah.
But what victory, right? There's victory along the way. And that, if that's a last little bit that I can give you to encourage you too, that if you made a movement, if you made a progression forward, whatever that means to you, celebrate that. And in my culture with my clients, I say, I see you and I celebrate you.
That's awesome. Well, we celebrate you too, Lee.
Thank you.
So I have to ask now, because you have told all these people that they have so much potential, and can you guide them to bringing that potential out to the surface? And if you can guide them, do you have any contact information you would like them to have?
Yeah, absolutely. What I have put together through my 30 plus years in personal development, through books, tapes, seminars, conferences, courses, all the like, as well as my life experiences and the wisdom that I've been granted along the way, and what I've been integrating together, what I have put together is what's called the Candy method. And thankfully, Candy is 5, so I could show you on my hand that the C in Candy is clarity. The A in Candy is affirmation. The N is necessity. D is discipline. And Y is for you. And when we put those 5 pieces together, this is what's going to tap into that unlimited potential, being able to empower your possibilities and really tap into that spark of who you are, and seeing those 3 G's, those genius, the gifts, the greatness. And so, yes, this is a journey that I can walk with you, and we can do it 6 weeks, we can do it over 3 months, and it just depends on where you're at and where you want to go. So if that's something that you would love help with, I invite you to drop me an email, because I'm having some rocky things happening with my social media right now. So pardon me with that. But if you want to drop me an email, coach@upcyclecoaching.com is the best way to reach me.
Coach at upcyclecoaching.com.
Yes.
All right.
And
Awesome.
and that way we can have a conversation. I'll send you my scheduling link. I'm willing to give you 30 minutes of my time. We can talk about any challenge or idea that you're wanting to process through, and see if I'm a right fit for you to help. And if I'm not, I will let you know. And if there's someone within my network that I know I can connect you with to help you with that, believe me, I'm going to do that too.
That is amazing, and I thank you for that so much. Now, I just want to say thank you again for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be here with me and my viewers.
My pleasure, Jeff. Thank you so much
But
for having
I
me.
need everybody out there, including you, Lee, to do me a favor this week, next week, the rest of the year, the rest of your life. I need you to make every second count.
Yes.
Why? Because you never know when the seconds are going to run out on your one life. Hey, thank you so much, Lee. I'll see you guys back here next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you for watching.